You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where today we are going to be talking about the 100, the group stage. It's wrapped up. We know who's going to be in the Eliminator and the final. So we'll be previewing that, talking about who we think has played well in the tournament, who we've been surprised by, giving lots of praise to Dan Weston and his double finalist qualifying Birmingham Phoenix side, I would expect. All of that. It's going to be fun. I'm Jack Hope, and today I'm joined by Ross Legg. Ross Legg, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, mate. Very excited to go to the 100. I'm going to the Eliminator on Friday.
That's going to be good. Who are you supporting?
Oh, it's been Birmingham Phoenix from the outset, so I'm going to miss them, which I'm gutted about. I was looking forward to meeting Dan Weston in person for the first time.
You're going to see the women.
Yeah, maybe he'll be there. If he's there, fantastic.
And Max Brown, how are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Jack. Not going to the Eliminator, but I will be taking an interest from afar.
How far?
Where are they? Are they at the Oval?
Yeah.
Oh, probably about 5 miles then.
Okay, so it's
Not
quite
too far.
it's actually quite a close interest.
Yeah.
Then in the scheme of things. Ross, before we get on with all of that 100 jazz, do you want to give the listeners and the viewers a few messages? This is going to be a step change as well, by the way, for the people who watched our test match wrap up and subscribed, talking about an English domestic competition 3 days later.
We're sponsored by Woodstock Cricket. So if you want a cricket bat or pads or, I don't know, jumper or whatever, use the code TCP25 and you get 25% off from there. They've got fantastic kit and they are a fantastic sponsor. So thanks, Jono. We would also love you to follow us at the Cricket Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to this channel on YouTube. Like, dislike, whatever you like. Do it.
No, don't dislike.
Don't dislike. Don't listen to Ross. He's an idiot. As he described Bumrah and Shami as on our last show, to much consternation. Max, L100 Aero, it has wrapped up. I think we're going to briefly run through the group table, talk about who surprised us and so on. And I think you volunteered to be our chaperone through the maze or the back streets of the 100. Should we start with the women?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's mainly this section really is just going to be a bit of navel gazing and self-congratulation on how well we've done at predicting how we all thought it would go. So starting with the women's competition, I guess we'll go from the bottom up, shall we? Poor old Welsh Fire down the bottom. We in terms of the overall competition, I think our first victory was saying it was pretty difficult to call, across a lot of the teams, and it proved to be that, apart from the top and the bottom, with Welsh Fire, 4 points, 2 wins, and I think we were pretty much expecting that to be their final position. Do we think they performed to expectations? Did they do well to win the 2 games that they did? What do we think?
I thought you were going to say, did they do well to finish 8th? No, that's about where they belong, I think. I saw them live at the Oval. They weren't very good.
I think it is fair that they did get absolutely rinsed by COVID. Like they were on the receiving end of some pretty. Like the Australians were supposed to come in and be their saviours, and they just didn't turn up, did they? So.
Yes.
For them.
Yeah. Literally didn't turn up, and not in the sporting figurative terms.
They actually weren't there. Yeah, that's a tough gig. And then so from 8th, we then get to 7th up to 3rd. We're separated by just the 1 point. So just to highlight how close it was there, with a number of teams just missing out. It was Trent Rockets in 7th. Was it Jack? Was it you who previewed the Trent Rockets?
Yes, I think I rated their men's team. Did not rate the women's team so highly. To be honest, to be 1 win from automatic, from the Eliminator, probably isn't a bad effort from the Rockets. So
the highest
did
wicket
better
taker,
than I expected.
They're the highest wicket taker in Sammy Joe Johnson. So there's things to shout about.
Yeah, I think seventh doesn't quite tell the full picture on that one, does it? I think, pretty reasonable performance, especially when you consider also there's the one no result in there for a few of those teams in that position, which maybe scuppered their chances as well. Moving
Welcome
up
to
from
England,
them,
baby. Another one to chalk up to Mr. Rain.
pretty lucky, really, that only two of the games were called off in the whole of the women's tournament, especially bearing in mind the fact that they were there was time pressure, wasn't there, with the women's game, with the fact that the men had to kick off at a certain point, that there was sort of that feeling of you don't get as much of a chance to wait for the rain to go away as maybe the men's games did. But moving up, sixth place, Northern Superchargers. Was that you, Ross, or was that you again, Jack?
I remember, actually, if I'm perfectly honest.
Well,
seems like a lifetime. It seems like a lifetime ago.
I think it may well have been me. They're not a team that I, recall playing very much. This middle bracket, if I'm honest, Trent Rockets, Northern Superchargers, Manchester Originals, London Spirit. I don't necessarily feel like we're missing anything by none of them qualifying. The London Spirit today, in the game against Welsh Fire, finally tried to do something. They had to chase, you see this, 96, I think, to qualify, or 41 balls. And they went for it and they nearly did it. And you have to think that if they played like that for the rest of the tournament, they probably would have. I think there are reasons why all of these teams didn't do very well. Largely speaking, it was some reasonably unimaginative batting, some quite slow batting. And possibly as well, another criticism that you could level at the women's side of the tournament in general is that a lot of teams just did not make use of the power play. Trent Rockets, I think they were sort of lucky to get their, or did well to get their 3 wins. Northern Superchargers, don't really recall them doing anything, but next two up, Spirit.
They had a cracking start, the Northern Superchargers. They won 3 of their first 4, with one of them being rained off, and then lost everything else.
But the London Spirit and the Manchester Originals probably had teams that were maybe even a bit better than Birmingham Phoenix, and they should feel disappointed, I think, not to finish in the top 3.
Yeah, so I'd say Manchester Originals next in 5th place, definitely underperformed, I think, for me, with some of the players they had in their squad available. And I think that was a definite case of what should have been and what could have been. And I think it was they got a slow start, did they? And that's really what did for them. They picked it up towards the end, but too little too late from them. So that they will be disappointed. And London Spirit, as you've covered, they needed a pretty unlikely result today against the Welsh Fire, but if there was one team they were going to play to get enough of a victory to squeak in, Welsh Fire was probably the team that they needed to be up against. But not quite for them, missing out on 3rd place by a net run rate of about 0.14 in the end. London Spirit, I think London Spirit, the chances I gave them were better than their men's team, but maybe not necessarily good enough. But so it proved in the end. And then we get into the plaudit takers, Birmingham Phoenix and Oval Invincibles in 3rd and 2nd, vying off in the Eliminator. Birmingham Phoenix, but they probably snuck under the radar a bit, didn't they, into 3rd?
I didn't see it coming. I didn't think. Ross, unless you disagree.
Well, I think what was good, right? Is I think when we look at the IPL, we don't sit there and look at KL Rahul's stats as the leading run scorer, right? If we look at the top 10 of the strike rate hitters, actually they've got Amy Jones kind of at the top of the order and Shafali Verma both in that position. So actually going out, and Jackie talked about playing some imaginative cricket or some attacking aggressive cricket. And actually, I think that's what they did, and it got them across the line in the end with some good support from their bowling lineup like Kirsty Gordon. So,
I think that's basically a good summary. I mean, I'm looking at their team again here, and it's not, in my opinion, one of the best 3 teams. So well done for playing better cricket than everyone else, outthinking some teams. Like Ross says, pointing out that strike rate stat. Playing the hundreds like it's supposed to be played.
Having the right analyst, isn't it? It's about having the right people behind the scenes to tell you how to approach cricket.
It was a little bit frustrating, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but there was quite a lot of instances where like strike rates were a real big issue for some of the women's teams, and there is a big step change in what they have to do. And we talked about it when Dan Norcross was on the show around how kind of the evolution of the women's game we will see get better and better if the 100 kind of maintains over the next couple of years, and that strike rate and the ability to put away the bad balls is high up on the agenda they should be working on.
Indeed. So second place, the other team in the Eliminator, Oval Invincibles. I think we were I was reasonably bullish about their chances at the start, particularly with Danny van Niekerk in the side, and as she proved by currently, I think, leading the MVP charts reasonably handily, which is always, always helps when in those sorts of metrics when you do a lot of batting and do a lot of bowling. They can be that can be quite handy for padding your stats. But she in particular has been excellent. But there's also been a couple of pretty strong performers in terms of the up and coming exciting talents. So I think Alice Capsey, she's put in a couple of match winning performances for the Oval Invincibles, and she's much talked about. So she's been.
She just turned 17, right? She's just turned 17 years old. Yeah,
so that's an unbelievable effort from her. And I think Tash Farrant as well has taken a bunch of wickets. So good work from the Oval Invincibles. Their star quality also backed up by a lot of the young talents. So that's a good effort from them. And then
I think they're probably going to win that Eliminator.
Yeah, they should do, shouldn't they? You'd make them favourites.
I think so. If we might as well just roll straight onto the prediction for that between those two teams, I think overall substantially better. Sorry, Dan, but I think that I can't see any team besides them beating Southern Brave in the final as well, or of the two teams. I can't see either team doing it besides them.
They also got home advantage, don't they? They're literally playing at their namesake ground. But actually, it's also a paradise to bat at the Oval, as we well know. Ollie Pope's figures always scream that he's going to be a supreme batsman. Doesn't quite turn out like that, does it, Max? But so that could be a thing for Birmingham Phoenix to kind of come back into it. They are a decent batting side, so maybe they get a flat one.
Yep.
And then the awaiting finalists, Southern Brave, who have absolutely pulverised all comers. All but one comer, winning 7 of their 8 games and topping the table on a pretty mammoth 14 points. I mean, that's an astounding
you'd take that, wouldn't you?
From there, isn't it? I mean, did we see that? Did we see such dominance coming from Southern Brave?
No, we definitely didn't in the predictions.
We can't get it all right.
Though, if you look at their team, I don't think we said they would do badly.
No, I mean they have a good
Sophia
side,
Dunkley
definitely.
and Shrubsole from the England team, which are 3 pretty good players. And Stefani Taylor, wasn't she the player of the T20 World Cup? Two T20 World Cups ago. Won the tournament with the West Indies, and I think they've got the overseas player of the tournament in Amanda Jade Wellington. So, that's probably the thing we didn't call, really, was that the one Australian who turn up would turn up for them.
Turned up.
So
turned up doubly so.
So,
I think it's quite interesting, isn't it? On franchise cricket in general, you normally don't get that kind of happen at all. Like, I don't think there's many examples where just one team just runs away with the whole thing. So I don't think it's a pretty big achievement. I think.
I mean, Mumbai did it a bit, didn't they, in the IPL last year? In the IPL, not the IPL, the CPL. I can't remember who they are. Probably Andre Russell or I think it's Pollard's team.
It seemed the most spinners, isn't it?
They went. I think they lost one game in the whole tournament. It does happen occasionally.
I mean, obviously, the design of franchise cricket is that it shouldn't happen and teams don't run away with it because obviously it's supposed to be a level playing field. But it depends, doesn't it, a lot on whether you've got the people to approach it in the right way, the right management side, or as you say, I mean, there's only 8 games. There's a bit more variation, I suppose. I mean, if you look at the IPL table halfway through the competition, it often takes this sort of shape and then it balances itself out. So
Trinbago Knight Riders. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and they have franchise quality, don't they?
You know what? I was wrong, fellas. They won 10 out of 10.
See, you don't see with one losing. One game, you lose one game.
Yeah, there's still improvement to be had for Southern Brave yet. So yeah, the final then. If we're saying it's going to be Southern Brave over Invincibles, that's the prediction. The first prediction. What do we reckon the overall winners are going to be?
I think the Oval are going to surprise people. I quite like their team. I think the South African core is pretty good. I think they've got decent spinners. I mean, the thing they miss probably is someone who actually bowls quite quick and always quite good at bowling quick.
So they might be. Don't they have Ishmael?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, yeah, I think
Tash Farron's pretty good as well.
So maybe, look.
Maybe, but I mean, if you look at how Surrey have approached T20 at the Oval over the last 2 or 3 seasons, they bowl so much spin. It's like it's just death by spin.
But the final's at Lords, isn't it? So we're talking about the final here.
Oh right, of course, yeah.
Sorry,
so gone back to Eliminator.
But I think it'll be a pretty tight game. It'd be great to see on the Eliminator, right? They should be. They're two kind of little bit mismatched teams. I think if Birmingham get through, they'll lose to Southern Brave. But if Oval get through, I think it's going to be a really tight game.
Yeah. Do we want to flip round and do the men's game, Max?
Let's do it. Okay. Well, we'll go in the same order as we did before, and we'll get through the bottom 2 fairly quickly, shall we? London Spirit and Welsh Fire currently facing off for the wooden spoon, or will be facing off very shortly for the wooden spoon in the men's competition. London Spirit, I previewed them. I looked at their side. I said it looked really bad. So I'm glad that I was not made to look too silly there.
They've been rubbish.
Yeah.
Like Owen Morgan's kind of we say he's a great ODI captain, but again, his credential, he wasn't very good at Kolkata Knight Riders captain. Then when he took over from Dinesh Karthik, he's not been very good here. And for the Mr. Innovative captain, a little bit let down by this, I think London Spirit should be. I have been impressed by Mason Crane though, so the old forgotten Mason Crane, who I think he went at a pretty good economy rate. I think at 5 and over or so, 5.5 and over from quite a lot of balls.
Yeah. Arguably, this is what happens when you hire a celebrity to pick your team. I don't want to be rude about Shane Warne, but would you say he was one of the leading thinkers in the short format game? I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, well, once upon a time, you could have been like, Shane Warne's got a great cricketing brain, but now it's
addled, isn't it?
Well, look, I think he might be right about Test cricket sometimes, but I don't know how up with modern T20 cricket he is.
Well, he might not be a leading T20 short format cricket thinker, but he is a leading hair replacement therapy advertisement man, and we can't forget that. He does it very well.
Yeah, greatest spinner ever. Good at hair replacement ads. We're on the same kind of level, aren't they? Yeah. Welsh Fire, Max.
Yeah. Well, what was it we said about Welsh Fire? We broke the news, didn't we? Sensationally broke the news of Johnny Bairstow's potential recall to the England side. At which point we said when they lose him, they're stuffed. 2 wins out of 2 in the first 2 games. Then they lost Johnny Bairstow and they lost the rest.
Yeah, I think they ended the tournament with the top men's run scorer as well, Ben Duckett. So, that kind of gives you an idea of what went on around him. Tom Banton was a bit naff, and their bowling, Kais Ahmed aside, was pretty poor. Saw them at the Oval as well. And they were crap. I've got to be honest.
Got their net run rate of nearly -1 before the final game kind of indicates the level of thrashings that they got. Not great from Welsh Fire.
Jimmy Neesham, I thought, did okay actually for them.
He had a good tournament, didn't he? Yeah.
I think he had a couple of shockers as well.
Yeah, a little bit inconsistent, but I think Jimmy. I still wouldn't be picking Jimmy Neesham, but fair play to him of turning up a couple of those games.
Might have earned himself another IPL contract.
In fairness to them as well, we are recording this before their final game finishes, so they could finish with 3 wins, which put them above Manchester Originals. Equally, they could finish bottom below London Spirit. So,
yeah,
one of the 2 teams we talked about is terrible. The other one is only marginally better.
I mean, Manchester Originals aren't that much better than these two.
No, Manchester Originals and 6. I mean, I had them in the top 3 when I previewed them, and I think they have monumentally underperformed.
Why did you have them in the top 3?
Mainly
Parkinson.
Yeah.
Suck it in.
No, I got suck it in. No, I think, I mean, you look at their team, it's not a bad team. They've got, like you say, Matt Parkinson. They just had a couple of absolute nightmares. I mean, there was that fiasco of drops, that game of dropping the dollies that probably cost them. There's that. They had 2 no results as well. So that kind of
I'll teach you for playing in Manchester.
Stuffed them a bit, but yeah, they've definite underperformers. Manchester Originals. I was maybe a little over bullish on their chances, bearing in mind looking at how well the other teams have played. But I still think 6th place is definitely well below what we would have expected from their players.
I reckon, to be brutally honest, that they might be another team whose management is not fantastic. Based on some of the players that they, let go in the redraft. Sakib Mahmood. Yeah, that was odd. And didn't they also have, dibs on Liam Livingston and decide not to take that up so that they could pick Parkinson? Now, I'm not saying Parkinson's bad, but if someone was going to offer me Liam Livingston or Matt Parkinson, I know who I'm going to take there. So just some food for thought about why they might have ended up where they ended up. I'm also really unconvinced by someone like Steve Finn or even Carlos Brathwaite, to be honest, as actually good T20 options. But
no, Steve, I don't think Steve Finn in T20 is quite what you're looking for. But never mind. There's always next year. So Northern Superchargers then 1 point above Manchester Originals in the table. I mean, they were the team that scored 200, weren't they? They put on that ridiculous show, but aside from that, I don't really remember them doing much.
I think Harry Brook's been a bit of a breakout star for them. He's really impressed. And I think it was John Simpson placed these guys, isn't he? He's the one who got the big old score.
Off. Yeah.
And then David Willey just continues to impress me. I think he's a great cricketer. I think England are going to be. Hopefully, they take him to the World Cup with them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he wasn't very good last night. I know there's some recency bias going on there, but he did basically. Liam Livingston hit 10 sixes, and I think 6 of them were in about 8 balls off David Willey. I don't know how top quality he is. I don't think I was ever too hot on this side. To be brutally honest,
depends how you use David Willey,
right? Yeah, they had Adil Rashid.
Yeah, but it's Adil Rashid. What's the difference really substantially between Adil Rashid and Parkinson? He's not Rashid Khan good. He's not going to win the tournament by himself, or you've got Rashid Khan, so therefore you have a good bowling attack. He's not that good. He's probably the rung down, and I think there are a few other guys going around who might not be quite as good, but aren't hugely worse.
Yeah, we did take 3 more wickets than anyone else in the tournament, but I still take your point.
Well, I mean, it's a good comeback, but again, I'm not so scared of. I'd be interested in how many runs they both went for example, and I don't think that any team is going to get really hung up on Adil Rashid. I actually thought from the 100 I thought there were a few times where we saw why he might not be getting IPL contracts.
Okay. Who's the next, Max?
Well, it's Oval Invincibles, also known as Surrey Cricket Club, in 4th place. I previewed them and I said that I thought they would come close but just miss out on the top 3, and that is precisely what happened. So well done me. I'll pat myself on the back for that. They fell just short on Monday, was it? Having missed out in the final game against Southern Brave. Tough team to come up against to need to win it, and they got off to a pretty bad start. ended up posting just about a competitive total, and then looked like they might be in a reasonably good position, but kind of blew it a bit. There was some pretty shoddy fielding going on. I was not impressed with Sam Billings behind the stumps, because apparently every time someone threw the ball into him from fielding, he would just leave it and let it go through to the other side, and forgot that he had some gloves on he was supposed to catch the ball with. But that's my little rant over. Yeah, I think Will Jacks showed everyone how good he is, I think, on occasions, with some ridiculous striking opening innings with Jason Roy. But ultimately, I think their frail middle order let them down, much like actual Surrey. They're an absolute blast when they open, and once you get the two big boys out, they tend to struggle a bit. And I think that's sort of what caused their problems this time round. But they'll probably be ruining the fact that their first game against London Spirit was rained off, denying them
the London Derby,
fairly certain extra point, which would have put them third on net run rate. So
yeah. And Max, what do you think about Tom Curran?
Did all right, didn't he? 10 wickets, a couple of nice booming Yorkers to take wickets at the end of the innings. I think he's probably done enough to justify his place on the plane to the UAE.
Well, Jack, you said when you were at the ground that the fans like Tom Curran.
They love him.
In the stadium, people love him.
The Currans really are heroes at Surrey.
Why?
Well, no. Well, they're like young boys who come through the Surrey ranks, and it's
got to love the Surrey boys.
Yeah, it's like
Daddy's put far too much money into them for them to be a failure.
It's the whole he's one of our own thing. It's that kind of thing,
Yeah, are they from Zimbabwe? Isn't they Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
Anyway, Trent Rockets, the team Jack you support.
Do I?
Trent Rockets, man.
Trent Rockets, man. Yeah, they were pretty good, weren't they? They started the tournament really hot and faded a little bit. I to some extent, I'm not 100% sure we saw them at their best in this tournament. It was also, they had kind of a weird thing going on, didn't they? Where didn't they lose much on Delanger because he was their overseas player to begin with, but got replaced. I might have messed that up, but he's only played 6 matches and has taken the second most wickets for them. So either he got injured, they dropped him, which would be weird, or they did replace him for Wahab Riaz, who I'm fairly certain was the guy coming in. It's probably where I expected them to finish, I think, second or third. In my mind, I thought Southern Brave were the best team. Then after Archer was ruled out, it became, I guess, a little bit more of a 3 or 4 way battle. But I think Trent Rockets are better than Over Invincibles and deserve to be where they are.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Samit Patel. No, I just quite enjoy watching him play cricket. He's just good value.
So much nous.
Well, just sometimes it goes completely wrong for him and he looks absolutely hilarious. And other times he's just like, he looks like a cricketer who's better than everybody else who's on the cricket ground. He's quite an enigma. I quite like that.
Yeah, well, he's certainly a personality in the short format game. So we'll keep him around for as long as we can. We like Samit Patel. Maybe he can play into his 40s, much like Darren Stevens. I think we'd all be supportive of that. Second place, then, the team that you thought was the best, Jack, Southern Brave, but minus Jofra Archer, lost their first 2 games and looked pretty dodgy, but they came roaring back in some style.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a case of a team not really adapting particularly well to the 100, which sounds ridiculous when you consider how similar it is to T20 cricket and so on. But they did sort of play slightly weirdly in the first matches. Then they got going, and we saw why people really want timeout Mills back in the international side. We saw a bit of Colin de Grandad action the other night. Quinton de Kock has turned in some pretty impressive performances with the bat and a couple of quite decent catches behind the stumps as well. They're going to be quite tough for Trent Rockets to beat, I think. I mean, on balance, I still think Trent Rockets are better. I'd rather have Rashid Khan and Hales in a 100 match than almost anyone else in the tournament either side of the ball, which is a big advantage. But I think it could be a really, really good match on Friday night.
I think they've kind of figured it out, haven't they? They've got a bit of plan. Is it Linnett, the spin bowler, who's actually really impressed, actually?
The left arm leg spinner.
I think actually some credit needs to go to my favourite player, James Vince. Actually, he's been relatively consistent. He might not have set the tournament alight, but kind of captaining that side, I think he's done a reasonable job there. So,
well, what do you want us to do? Give him a round of applause. Well, I quite liked this because he's sort of done okay in this. I don't know if you noticed in the last couple of days, people were like, "We've got to get Livingston and Vince in the test team." He's averaging 25 in the 100. You've got to bring him in.
Well, it was good enough for Joss Butler, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed. Birmingham Phoenix. Then, Matt.
So the
boys in orange.
Let's eulogize about Dan Weston, the genius that is.
Merry orange men.
Phoenix. 5 wins on the trot to finish the tournament. Liam Livingston last night, absolutely smoking the ball to all parts. I mean, he's been ridiculous, hasn't he? Liam Livingston has scored nearly 100 runs more than the next highest in the tournament. What a tournament he's had.
He's 76 runs more than Ben Duckett at Welsh Fire, with a strike rate of 171. Now I'm looking at the list of top run scorers. The only 2 people in the top, 10, 15 that are coming close to that strike rate, Quinton de Kock, who's up at 178, and Smead, who is the other player at Birmingham Phoenix, who's been phenomenal this year with 182. Yes. It's pretty clear that they got their recruitment spot on. They've also got Moen Ali in their 6 games played.
He's going to be back for the final, isn't he?
Yeah, 189 runs, strike rate of 154. They really dominated. Again, it's an interesting dynamic that you get here with the top run scorers. The three top, Livingston, Duckett, and Malan. Duckett and Malan strike rates 137 and 119. They're basically playing a different game, and it's the wrong game.
Gail Rahul.
It is Gail Rahul. Gail Rahul and Coley. There you go. There's their 2 strike rates. And then you've got the big boys who actually won it.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear, or pretty fair to say that they've done it largely with the bat by managing to have 3 guys in the top 6 players, all with monster strike rates. And I know they've got bowlers as well. I mean, what have we got?
Adam Milne, hat trick.
Yeah, the hat trick was good.
His celebration was one of the best things of the tournament. I thought he was going to burst. Jenny, there was so much going on. I thought he was going to burst.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer Imran Tahir celebration or Tabraiz Shamsi's celebration?
It's probably Imran Tahir, purely in the fact that he's about 57. So
it's
the fact
iconic, isn't it?
Yeah, it could well be like his last run around the cricket field. It might be like before he kind of kills over. So it's great to see.
I think with a lot of these tournaments that the team that batters the ball the most wins, and that's what they've done. They've bowled well as well, but I think I'm looking here. Imran Tahir, 9 wickets at an economy of 8.25. That's decent. It's not awesome in 8 games. Milne has been, and it's ridiculous. He's in the backup side for New Zealand for the World Cup later this year. 10 wickets, economy 6.31. Probably been the bowler of the tournament. To be honest, if you look at how economical he's been and how many wickets he's taken. So that helps as well. But the sheer gap in production that Livingston in particular, but also Smead and Moen Ali managed for Birmingham Phoenix with the bat has just elevated them to a level that other teams haven't been able to follow.
Yeah, I think their players have gone up, right? Because they played exciting cricket, their brand has grown. If someone was to turn around and say, oh, who's the most exciting team in the 100? It is Birmingham Phoenix because of the brand of cricket they are playing. And also people like Benny Howe, who are a little bit different. And he's not quite a money ball pick because I don't think we talk around saying money ball picks, but he's been great. And now people are talking about the approach that he has to the game, the variations that he uses to bowl. And off the back of this, he could well be not a backup player in the Big Bash. She could be someone who plays all the time or something like that in another franchise.
Yeah, no, I think it's been a great shop window for all of these people. it's a shop window that New Zealand obviously haven't been looking through. But I'd imagine. I mean, I can't see Liam Livingstone not getting a contract in the IPL later this year, for example. And I know he's broken through in the international game as well, but he's really underscored it here.
He's got to be in the England side, hasn't he?
Yeah, you'd think so.
He replaced Ben Stokes at the Royals, didn't he? But so
yeah. Anything else? Who's going to win this? I think we're all saying that. I mean, I think Trent Rocket's going to make the final and then lose for the third time this year to the Phoenix.
We've got to back the Phoenix, haven't we? We have to. It's on our conscience.
Ross,
yeah, I want a Phoenix shirt now. I was kind of surprised at the amount of merchandise that she sees being purchased for this. But yeah, I want a Birmingham Phoenix shirt.
Sure. Well, so we're both saying we're going with we're going with a slight wild card, or I am, with Oval Invincibles in the women's game, and then
I like
Phoenix in the men's.
Oval.
Yeah. All right, well, there we are. That's what's going to happen. We predicted the group stage, so
get your bets on now.
It stands to reason that we'll predict the final as well. Do we want to talk really briefly about England's selection for the test team?
Yes, please.
Yes,
please. Can we just go onto the 100 website, search top run scorers, and then go, oh, who should we pick out of this? And then go, why if we David Malan? We'll go with David Malan again.
Well, who's got the lowest strike rate?
I just want to point out you don't want to do that because for some reason they've not been updating who has taken the most runs, or who has taken the most wickets, and who has scored the most runs. So that information is, yeah. I don't know why, but it is inaccurate.
One job.
It is. Look, times are tough at the ECB,
and
they've just not been able to train that hamster to both pick a test team and update the website for the 100 at the same time. And the hamster, it's failed. It's failed at both.
So who's come in, Jack? Who's come into the England test side? Who's gone out?
I was actually getting up. I didn't have this prepped.
Which of the England batsmen who averages between 30 and 36 is now going to bat number 3?
I don't know. Talk among yourselves.
After Jack's, I know who it is. So after Jack's kind of comparison, he did some stats last week of the benefit of having someone who faces over 100 deliveries in the opening up. Dom Sibley has been dropped from his position. Said I think Chris Silverwood talks about he has to go back to the county game and re-find his confidence, which
worked well for Hasib Hamid, didn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, so we can expect him back in 2 years, or whatever it might be. And then Dawood Malan has come in, so I'm guessing that's going to mean another reshuffle at the top. So Hamid will become the opener alongside Rory Burns, and Dawood Malan will slot in at 3. Wrapping up yesterday, we weren't that impressed with Hamid, and now he's got a promotion after getting missing a straight one first ball up, and then getting
missing another straight one.
Should have been out third ball or something. So. Big task in his hands.
Look, 9 runs. You can't sniff at that. How many test runs do we have between us? It's less than 9. And so who are we to comment? It's sort of clueless, isn't it? It was clueless bringing him back. It's probably going to be a bad decision opening with him. Now, look, like with Hamid, everyone knows the story and everyone wants him to do well. And the narrative arc, like we said on our last show, is behind him. And it would be really fun if he did do well. And I would probably say as well, he's an England player, a young England player with a pretty high ceiling based on what we've seen in his career so far and some of the innings he's played. But I don't see it happening right now. And I think there's probably quite a lot in his game that he still needs to get right. So, I would expect them to be in trouble. Who else have they brought in? Ross? So Sibley has gone, and they brought in and Crawley has gone. Crawley's still. I think forgetting about his gloves when he went for that net was the last straw, to be honest, for him. And Silverwood obviously agreed. So it's Pope and Malan in. What do you think of that?
Pope is a bit of a conundrum, right? So Max, you will wax lyrical about Ollie Pope and how good he is, averaging 70 in county cricket. He's hit is it 1 century for England in South Africa? He's disappointed in the England shirt. He is young. He is young, but he is disappointed in the England top, isn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, you would, based on that performance in the county championship, you'd expect him to come in and do a bit better. And he's shown flashes, hasn't he, of what he can offer. But he too often seems to get to 20 odd and fail, which seems to be a very common theme with English batsmen. So he's not quite departing from the mean there.
Would you definitely expect him to do worse though, or to do better? Sorry, because he bats number 6 at the Oval where he averages 100, and that's how close is that to Test cricket? If you bat 6 in a county team, generally you're facing first, second, or third change bowlers. Now, if you bat in the top 3, I think there's a reasonable argument to be made that the difference between that and Test cricket is a step, but not a ludicrous step.
Yeah.
If you bat 6, you're facing the kind of guys who, Ross, on the club we used to play for, Three Bridges Cricket Club, occasionally they'll put a video up and it'll be like, oh, this week we played against 80 plus mile an hour fast bowler from Sussex, and you'll see it'll be like Abhi Sakande, and these clubbies are playing him out. They're not getting out to him. That's the third change bowler or the second change bowler that Ollie Pope's battering. Is it that impressive? Probably not, if we're being honest. Is it that much of a surprise that he only averages 31 in Test cricket? No. Are England doing their care? Also no. So I don't know.
It's a fair argument, and I think it's the kind of thing where you say, all right, go back to Surrey and bat 3 or 4, and then if you're still doing it, definitely
should bat 3 or open the batting.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one, Jack. And you can see where the holes are. Yeah, this I was exactly about to say that. We talked about it a few weeks ago, saying why is James Vince? He's the captain of Hampshire. Why is he not batting himself 3? Actually, does he really care? Can he be bothered with a hassle? He just wants to take some other contracts and kind of get on with it. Saqib Mahmood is probably going to play. They said Mark Wood is going. They said Mark Wood is going to be fit, but I'll be surprised if Mark Wood is fit. I think they need to manage Mark Wood as much as possible.
I don't think they'd have picked him if they weren't planning to play him.
But if this is interesting, right? Do you? Okay, all right. So I'm not entirely convinced. Does Sam Curran keep his place?
I think this is an interesting one because I did a joke tweet that people think is our real tea. Is really who we think will play. And I said the England lineup might be Burns, Mead, Malan, Root, Bairstow, Pope, Butler, Moeen, Robinson, Wood, Anderson. I think Moeen might come out for Curran in that lineup, but I wouldn't be surprised if England were like.
I mean, if you're going to play Curran anywhere, if you're going to play Curran anywhere, then Headingley might be the most.
Oh, we're going to keep trying that, are we?
Yeah. I can't. There's no point, is there? Because we said it before. If he's not given the ball early and on enough that it's going to swing, then he's pointless.
Hey, sometimes it does swing,
and now he can't bat either.
Yeah, sometimes it does swing when it's like 50 overs old, but it's on a rare occasion.
What's a double king pair? What's that called? An emperor.
That's a 4 of a kind.
I mean, he's in England's like top 5 run scorers. So maybe he'll be at 6.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but no, that'd be very England, wouldn't it? Get a king pair and then get promoted up the order.
Hamid got 9. Up you go, son.
Yeah, the old Peter principle, isn't it? You're failing upwards.
Runs and Sibley. And
yeah. Imagine they did that. Imagine they selected Sibley and was like, you go bat at 7. we'll see out the rest of the game. Yeah, but the older ball, you can do that, mate. Anyway.
I mean, I don't really hate the dropping of Sibley. I mean, as much as I think he probably has a future for England. If and I don't know if they'll be doing this, but if they're saying to Dom Sibley, you need to go away and you need to start scoring off short wide balls or something like that, you've got to add another shot to what you're doing, just to put a bit of pressure on bowlers. And just so that if you face 88 balls, which is I think what he averages per innings, which is a really, really high number of balls to be facing. If he was scoring at a strike rate of 40, or even if he could push it up to say 45, which isn't ridiculous, that's only Rory Burns, he'd average more than Rory Burns. Looking at the dismissal rates, that's what he needs to think about, what he needs to work on. I think there's a player there, and if they actually have a development plan for him, it he will come back.
Especially
Do
at the
they?
level of
Who
Test
knows?
cricket as well, isn't it? Like if you're facing 88 balls, as much as saying, yeah, you're doing well to like bat that long. Also, within those 88 balls, there's a fair chance when you're playing against bowlers this good, one of them's got your name on it, and that there's not much you can do about it. So you do have
he's
to still
opening in
score
England.
something.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that, Max. And I think on the Dom Sibley front, I completely agree with you, Jack. Right? So we said after the first Test match, we're going, if Dom Sibley is on 10 runs after facing 120 deliveries, they don't care. They really don't care because they're just getting England out the other end anyway, unless it's Joe Root. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. If he was averaging 40 at a strike rate of 30, like BJ Watling, it would be fine, but he isn't. So it probably does. You do actually have to put some runs in the proverbial bank. You can't all just be the secondary stuff that you do. Anyway, we've done a longer pod than expected. Should we wrap up here and we'll put this out tomorrow, I think, on Thursday, and we'll get back together after the weekend, I think, to chat about the conclusion of the 100 and preview the third Test at Headingley.
Well, thanks very much for listening. Follow us at the Cricket Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and like and subscribe to this YouTube channel.